Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS in this series of lectures of current affairs. The topic of the day is Sarna religion, the topic related to art and culture. What is Sarna religion or the Sarna code? We will try to identify in this session today. The learning objectives of the day are to examine the Sarna religion, or we can say the Sarna code. Then to analyze the Sarna religion in news, why this topic is in news in this year's current affairs, and to infer the need for Sarna code. Also, we will outline the politics around the code, the Sarna code. How many religions do we have in India? In the Census of India, how many religious identities have their specific columns? There are 6. The columns are 8, but there are 6 prevalent religions in India. In the Census of India, when there is a paper of census coming to your houses when you are filling it, you have some options in the religion category. That includes Hinduism, number 1 is Hinduism. Second is Islam. Then comes Christianity. Then comes Sikhism. Then comes, what else? Buddhism. With Buddhism, 6th name you all know, that is Jainism. Apart from that, 2 more options are there in the Census of India. 7th is unaffiliated. Unaffiliated, and 8th is others. What is it? See, if you identify yourself as Hindu or the follower of Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism or Jainism, you have to tick in the column in front of these religions. If you are associated with some other religion which is not in this list, then you have to tick in the 8th number, that is others, the other religion. Those people who do not associate with the religion, who consider that they are not associated with any of the religion, they can tick in the unaffiliated column. This is what is the arrangement in the Census of India. But now, for years, there is a demand to include one more religion. What is that? That is Sarna religion. See, this topic is not new to the news. But why it is important, why it is relevant? Because the Census of India is going to take place in 2021. The year of the census is this. That is why this becomes important for your examination. Also, we will try to analyze the impacts of the separate codes. The impacts of the separate codes. One of the important impacts or the drawbacks can be what? Easily you can guess, the demand from the other sections of the society will be more strong. If this demand is accommodated, then the demands of the remaining sections of the society who demand or identify themselves as different from these religious groups, or we can say who are the sections beneath or under these religious groups only, but they want themselves to be declared as a separate religion, their demand will intensify and will get strengthened. We'll discuss all the aspects in this session today. Also, we will discuss about particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVTGs. Particularly vulnerable tribal groups. What are PVTGs and why we are discussing PVTGs with the topic associated with Sarna religion, that also you will come to understand at the end of this session. We will discuss about the Census of India also, some factual informations. See, Sarna religion or the Sarna code is not new. It was there from 1871 onwards. 1871, modern Indian history. That was the time period of the Britishers in India. From 1871 till 1951, it was recognized. 1951, India got independence. During this time period also, 1947, India got independence. 1951, India was independent. At that time also, this religion was identified. So for such a long time, this was identified, but after that, some conspiracy took place, and then 1961, 51, after 1951, the things got changed. And after that, people who are the followers of Sarna code are demanding that this religion should be identified separately. Not only this, in 2011, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, or we can say STs. Which type of body is this? Is this constitutional or a statutory body? It is constitutional body recognized by the Constitution of India. So in 2011, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes also advised to the central government to recognize Sarna religion as a separate religion and include this separate religious identity or religious group in the Census of India of 2021. Sarna adherents believe in praying to nature. Now the question arises, why the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes was suggesting the central government? Because this religion is prevalent amongst the tribes of India, the tribal groups of India. When we talk about the tribes or the tribal groups in India, what comes to our mind is the picture of their association with forests or nature. So the basis of this religion is nature. The basis of this religion is Jal, Jangal, Zameen. Three things: Jal, water; Jangal, forest; and Zameen, that is land. The faith's holy grail is Jal, Jangal, Zameen. The followers or the adherents are the worshippers of nature. They are the people who worship nature, forest. Their god is nature. And its adherents worship trees and hills while believing in forest protection. See, one important thing which history tells us time and again is, whatever needs to be protected in India prevalently is associated with religion, then it is protected. So similar is the case here, we can say, because these people associate the nature, the trees, the water, the hills, the forest with their religion. So if they are associating this with their religion, it means they are going to protect it at any cost. And modern day, modern time, the need of the hour is to protect the nature, to protect the environment. So that is why one important argument in favor of introduction of Sarna religion is, since these are nature worshippers and at this time environmental protection is the need of the hour, the talk of the town, at that time Sarna religion or the followers of Sarna religion can be a help for the governments to protect the nature. Next comes the Jharkhand government. Why this is in news? The question arises, why this is in news? Since this religion is followed by the tribal people mainly, and those tribes are mainly located in Jharkhand. Remember, mainly, not all, mainly in Jharkhand, and that is why, because of some state politics as well, the Jharkhand government in 2020 November introduced a resolution. The state government in the Legislative Assembly introduced the resolution presented the resolution to the central government where they have asked for the recognition of Sarna religion or the Sarna code as a distinct code in the 2021 census. The Jharkhand government held a special assembly session in order to approve a resolution recognizing the Sarna religion and designating it as a distinct code in the 2021 census. I hope you all are clear what is distinct code. Apart from that, 8 columns, those 8 columns, 9th of Sarna religion should be included. This was the demand of the Jharkhand government. At present, who is the Chief Minister of Jharkhand? It is Mr. Hemant Soren, who is son of Mr. Shibu Soren. And Hemant Soren belongs to Santhal tribe. So Hemant Soren put up this resolution, and also there were debates in the Legislative Assembly that this religion is associated with the upliftment of the tribal people or the emotions of the tribal people and should not become a topic of the politics in the state. There were various debates on this thing as well. Apart from that, what is important for our UPSC exam, we will focus on that. It is estimated, now the question arises, how many followers will be there for the Sarna code or the Sarna religion? How many do you think? Because they are asking a separate religion. So the number is recognizable. That is why they are asking themselves as a separate religious group. It is estimated that nearly 50 lakh indigenous people in the entire country identified as Sarna in the 2011 census, despite the fact that it was not a code at that time. Instead of that, in 2011, they wrote themselves as the followers or the adherents of Sarna religion. The resolution will request a specific column in the 2021 census for the adherents of the Sarna faith. They are not yet categorized as distinct entities. They do not have separate affiliation or the separate entity tag yet in India. Many tribes members who practiced this tradition eventually converted to Christianity. Now, what happened over the period of the time? I have told you the demand is not new. The demand is very old. 2011 we discussed that the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes recommended to introduce Sarna code as a separate code. So over the period of the time, what has happened? Most of the people who were the followers of Sarna code have converted themselves to Christianity. So the people who are now demanding, who are not yet converted, who are now demanding that Sarna religion should be identified as a separate religion, what is their demand? Their demand is the benefits should come to us and not to the people who converted themselves to the Christianity. We have waited, so all the benefits should be ours. The state has more than 4% Christians, the majority of whom are tribal members, and it is assumed or it is said that they are the people who got converted to Christianity. Additionally, they feel that the advantages should be exclusive. Should be exclusive to them and not to those who have converted or who were not ready to wait for the period to which the others have waited. There is a discussion, topic of discussion, what will be the impact of the separate codes? What will be the outcome of the separate religious codes? The tribals place a premium on the preservation of their language and heritage. We all know that the tribal development in India is very important, and we have discussed in our lecture series of history that the tribal development in India, there were 3 approaches or the 3 models of development, and we have adopted a model which says that we have to develop the tribes of India, but we have to keep their culture intact, and along with that we have to mingle them with the mainland. We do not have to interfere, or we do not have to touch, or we do not have to destroy their culture, their language. Keeping it intact, we need to mingle them with the process of development. So that is what is our model of development. Tribes hold a very important role in India. They have a premium on the preservation of their language and heritage and their source, that is the forest. So we have discussed that experts say, at a time, you can write this argument in your mains answer writing or in any of the essays where you are talking about the tribal development or the tribal policy of India or for the Sarna religion, that the experts suggest at a time when the entire world is focused on decreasing pollution and safeguarding the environment. In recent years, we know that our international organizations are talking about what? On safeguarding our environment, on the sustainable development. We have sustainable development goals. So when the talk of the town is decreasing pollution, talk of the town is safeguarding and protecting the environment, it is sensible for Sarna to become a religious code since the religion's essence is devoted to nature and the environmental protection. Not only this, when the state government was presenting this paper or presenting this resolution to the central government, the state government said over the period of the time, many of the tribal people from the state of the Jharkhand have moved to some other states. Since they have moved to some other states, there they are not identified as tribes. So if we are putting Sarna code or Sarna religion as a separate categorization in the census of 2021, we will be able to count the people associated with the Sarna religion who have moved out of Jharkhand as well. That will be head count, easy way to head count. This was about Sarna religion. Some factual information ahead this. Sirhul festival is associated with Sarna people. So can be asked in your prelims, what is Sirhul? It is New Year's event. It is the celebration of New Year associated with Sarna people observed by the adherents of Sarna faith. It is celebrated in the Hindu month of Chaitra. In the Hindu month of Chaitra, that is 3 days after the new moon appears, this festival is celebrated. Now there was a question in prelims on PVTGs. That is why we have included this topic in this session. What is particularly vulnerable tribal group or PVTG? How a PVTG is different from tribal group? See, what are tribes? Tribes are the people, group of people in India we have discussed, but these are not homogeneous. These are not homogeneous. There are differences within the group of tribes as well. Since these are not homogeneous, the development level, or we can say the assimilation level amongst tribes is also not same. So the tribes which are very much not assimilated or very much backward or very much alienated, those tribes within the tribal groups are categorized as particularly vulnerable tribal groups. This categorization is done by which ministry? Can you guess which ministry has done this categorization? It is Ministry of Home Affairs. It is Ministry of Home Affairs and not the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Jharkhand is a state which is home to 32 scheduled tribes. Out of these 32, 8 are PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal group. As the name suggests, these are more vulnerable amongst the tribes. In India, tribal population make approximately 8.6% of the overall population. What is the journey of the PVTGs in India? PVTGs are particularly susceptible in indigenous communities. As a result of this aspect, More established and aggressive tribal groups receive a disproportionate share of tribal development expenditures, implying that PVTGs require additional funding for the development. Since they are more backward, more vulnerable, they need additional funding. The Debhar Commission, remember the name? The Debhar Commission established a separate category for the primitive tribal groups or PTGs in 1973. In 1973, the Debhar Commission established a separate category for PTGs, which means primitive tribal groups, defining them as least developed tribal groups, the least developed amongst the tribes. In 2006, the Government of India reclassified these primitive tribal groups, PTGs, as PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Against this backdrop, the Government of India established a special category for the most PTGs in 1975, declaring 52 such groups in 1993, and additional 23 tribes were added to the category. In total, today we have 75 PVTGs out of 705 scheduled tribes. So in total we have 75 PVTGs. UPSC in prelims asked about PVTGs and specifically asked about the number. They gave there are 72 PVTGs. Students were not aware and they marked it right. Rather it is 75 PVTGs, not 72. Remember this number. PVTGs have several fundamental characteristics. Now this becomes important for prelims as well as mains. They are more vulnerable, they are more susceptible, but what are the fundamental characteristics? They are predominantly homogeneous. Since tribal groups in India are non-homogeneous, amongst the tribal groups we have reclassified PVTGs. These PVTGs amongst them are homogeneous, have a tiny population, they have minimal number or a tiny population, are geographically isolated. They are more vulnerable because they are geographically isolated, lack written language. Important. They don't have any written language, have relatively rudimentary technology or old technology, and have a slower rate of change. They are not increasing at a pace, or they are not advancing at a pace which is considerable. Their pace of change or pace of development of technology is very redundant, is very slow. Out of 75 PVTGs which are listed, the highest number of PVTGs reside in the state of Odisha. Reside in the state of Odisha. Now next topic comes important small factual information about the Census of India. We have discussed till now about the Sarna religion, the need for Sarna religion, and then about PVTGs. Next comes Census of India. Census of India is a process conducted in every 10 years. That is why known as decennial census. 2011 was the last census. Till then, 15 times this decennial census was held. While the census has been done every 10 years since 1872, when British Viceroy, who was the Viceroy, Lord Mayo, launched it. What information you got from this statement? 1872 was the year when Lord Mayo launched census in India. Important. After that, it is done every 10 years, decennial census. It is for the first time the thorough census which was held in 1881 according to the United Nations Population Division. 1872 it was launched, but the thorough one was done in 1881. Since 1949, the development, since 1949, it has been conducted by the Registrar General. Important, can be asked. 1949, it has been conducted from 1949 by the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, who are both appointed by the Ministry of Home Affairs under Government of India. The Registrar General and the Census Commissioner are appointed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Since 1951, all censuses have been conducted in accordance with the 1948 Census of India Act under the Census of India Act of 1948. The previous census took place in 2011 and the next one will be in 2021, and that is why all this was in news. So this was all for today. In detail, we discussed about the Sarna religion, how old was the Sarna religion, the relevance of Sarna religion for your examination, why this topic is in news, and then the need for the Sarna code, why the Sarna religion should be recognized. We discussed that. We discussed the politics around the code and also the impacts of separate codes. Apart from that, we discussed about the PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and then we discussed about the Census of India. So this was all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this session. We will continue our discussion from here. Till then, stay tuned, keep studying. Thank you so much.